When we started in 2015, we started to make the world more physically active. Launch of Sweat is going to turbocharge this vision and 10x it, maybe 100x it. What I would like to see is humanity changing our attitude towards physical activity. We know that it is valuable intuitively. We are basically putting an asset out there that is going to be the measure how much value humanity attributes to physical activity. What would make me really happy is a headline saying human physical activity pumps 20x last week, and everyone going, whoa, physical activity has value? Oh my God, this changes people's perception. That's going to make people more physically active. They're going to start thinking more about their bodies, their health, and I think we're going to generate an immense amount of value for the whole world.
Dear crypto community, blockchain buddies across the globe, welcome back to Kryptonites, the OBS blockchain channel built with the community and for the community. And speaking of community, we're here at the Paris Blockchain Week Summit with one of the hottest projects that's being talked about, debated all over town. The CEO of Sweatcoin, Oleg, and a personal friend is here. Thank you so much for coming to the show, my friend.
Pleasure meeting you again, Alex.
Yes, last time we met was in London, and I remember it was still early days of a project that now has
64 million users.
64 million users, and just now in the past 24 hours, how many wallets download?
Yeah, so we literally yesterday announced that we're going to Web3, and this summer we're going to have TGE and the token release. It's going to be called Sweat, and we've started whitelisting people, and 262,000 for this moment have already opted in and created wallets.
That is insane traction. What was the original vision, Oleg? You know, when you wanted to create Sweatcoin, it was a very innovative way of using data, which now is the hottest topic in blockchain, right? Data monetization. But what were you thinking back then? Bring us back to the epiphany moment.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned data. We'll come back to it in a second. The original vision was very simple. Actually, you know what? Let's do a bit of a detour. Have you seen movie WALL-E?
Yes, of course. I love WALL-E.
You know, you remember the forecast for future of humanity? There's blobs that can't move around, ride on scooters. If you fall, robots come and lift you. You know, that sort of stuck with me. My kids were young and they probably watched it like 20 or 30 times. And I went for a run one day and I could barely complete 5K. And I was thinking like, holy shit, we're actually doing a very poor job at being healthy, fit, making right choices, and we're living increasingly sedentary lives. So we started thinking with my co-founder, what can we do, and is there a technology that will persuade people, motivate people to be more active? And that's how the idea of Sweatcoin was born. We, as the name suggests, wanted it to be on blockchain already back in 2015. We've even spoken to Vitalik. We met with him in London. I mean, research grade project. Ethereum was just in making in 2015. But we've decided that it's going to be faster and cheaper for us to launch centralized. And we did. And then we thanked that we didn't build on blockchain, because by 2017, early 2017, we were processing 300 to 400 transactions per second at peak. Now we're processing more than 1,500 transactions at peak. So there was no technology, no protocol, pretty much until last year, that could get anywhere close to the scale that we require.
And I remember that conversation, Oleg. We were at the German craft beer,
Yeah.
and I was literally asking you, when are you launching the token Web3? And I remember you told me, said, don't worry, we're looking at this very carefully,
Yeah.
but it doesn't scale enough for now. We're waiting for the right solution because we don't want to make a mistake, right?
Exactly. Back then, we were looking at pre-production release of Polkadot, and we were able to get it to about 500 transactions on 100 nodes, but we couldn't accelerate it any further, so we actually took a step back again and went like, well, the market is not ready. So this year, literally yesterday, we announced that we're building on Near. I don't know if you know these guys, amazing team, good focus on mass market adoption, UX. It's fast, it is cheap, and it's also eco-friendly because it's proof of stake. It really fits our vision and our values, and we'll absolutely love working with that team.
And I see online on GitHub, like the devs really like Near and the sharding ecosystem they've created.
Yeah.
It's a clean protocol, the code is clean, right?
Yeah, no, and Rust is gaining momentum with Solana and Near, both building on Rust. Rust community is emerging. So yeah, it's great tech. And I think that the most important thing that we aligned on, they are talking about mass market adoption, and they're talking about bringing next billion people into Web3. We are coming from health and fitness world and making next billion people more physically active. So when we, when we started talking, it was just like perfect because we are about health and wealth. They are bringing technology and they're bringing financial component and the backbone to, to enable our token. We're bringing in users and we're bringing in health and fitness expertise and amazing UX. So, it's a partnership to look out for. This summer is going to be really exciting with our TGE.
Really exciting, and I'm glad that you're bringing the masses, right? Not just the geeks or the degens. You're opening up crypto to the world, which is a really important step, right? Because the whole idea of this is inclusion, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, as I mentioned, we have 64 million users, and we're growing approximately between 100 and 150,000 people a day. We've opened, to global markets literally within the last few weeks, and it's going amazingly well. And we're now being able to go public with a claim that you actually walk into crypto. That's what's on the back of.
Ah, nice.
So
There
you
go.
literally walk into crypto
Before you run.
and run. Whatever, as long as you move your feet.
Yeah.
Because the biggest issue for next billion people are two. First is people don't want to have complex experience. They don't want to think about 24 words that they need to memorize, and if they lose them, their money is gone.
Yeah.
And the second thing is they don't want to first put a lot of money in and then learn,
Yeah.
because there is no day that passes without them hearing that 650 million got drained from Ronin Bridge. I don't know, 300 million got drained from Wormhole. So, and this gets into mass market, into press. So we solve both of these problems. We know how to build amazing, simple UX, and we're literally allowing these people to walk into crypto and experience it, start playing, and then if they feel comfortable, then start bringing in their own money. So, it's definitely going to explode.
My mind is still boggling from your inspiration from a Pixar movie, by the way. I'm just thinking about WALL-E. I'm like, wow, what a cool story. This makes a lot of sense. In terms of the tokenomics, right? We saw other platforms like StepN and other people who are thinking that, okay, the easiest way to empower people is to provide them with a reward system that doesn't necessitate money to start, right? You can just start by walking with you guys and you send reports on, how much we've used in calories and coupons. It's amazing. But how are the tokenomics going to work for Sweatcoin?
Great question. There are a lot of different things here. Let's talk about supply. When it comes to supply, our TGE, we will create one sweat for every one sweat coin that you will have on your balance at the time of TGE. So basically, the most interesting thing for you now is to continue walking and maximize your balance for TGE, because that's going to be by far the best exchange rate that you will ever have. And after that, what's going to happen is that you will mint every next sweat with your steps, but you will need to put more and more steps with every next sweat. So there is a continuously escalating minting difficulty, like Bitcoin halving,
yeah.
but in real time.
In real time.
So, within 4 or 5 years, you're actually going to walk 5 times more. So it's going to take 5,000 steps to mint one sweat coin. What it's going to achieve is you're having an increasing marginal cost of production. And that means that the token supply is starting to decline. And basically we don't have capped supply, but we have an ever declining inflation, and it approaches zero in ad infinitum. And so this is on supply side. And then on demand side, given that we build a business with 64 million users and we're super profitable in Web 2, there are a lot of revenue streams that we're already familiar with that we can simply bring into Web 3. The first one is partnerships. With already 262,000 wallets created, if project is seeking customers, if NFT project is seeking customers, if Metaverse wants to have more users, if token wants to get more community, we can help them to deliver their tokens to our users, and we will also monetize this for us as a project, and money will go into foundation and DAO. These eyeballs are extremely, extremely valuable. We monetize now through advertising. A lot of crypto companies are putting advertising out there. This is also going to be happening on the new platform.
That's amazing. So is it like a staking mechanism? So to reward the loyal token holders,
absolutely,
they will get airdrops or stake drops or something.
Yeah, we're also working on a staking product where people are going to be able to, kind of stake their tokens for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12. We're still deciding on a period, and earn very, very healthy and very interesting amount of interest for them. So this is definitely in development. NFTs, we are taking very different approach from Axie or from StepN, where you pay to play and then you earn. In our world, we would like to make sure that NFTs are accessible to all. However, they'll have multiple tiers. There will be gamification mechanics to grow and change your NFT to basically show your experience, your level of activity, your engagement, and also your seniority in the platform. So that is definitely coming. But what's most exciting, when we are looking in the long run, we're trying to build the economy of movement. In order to achieve that, we need to become a platform, and we already have conversations with several businesses that specialize in tracking and verifying other types of sports and physical activity. So what we're going to have are the alternative validators. So for example, you are specializing in high intensity training. You're providing classes, you're providing tracking of it. You would be able to work with us, and you would be able to run the validator, and you would be able to issue sweat in the future in exchange for that physical activity.
Wow.
And in order to run that validator, you're going to need to stake some sweat. That's going to create, kind of an interest in the, overall community, because it is engaging, it is going to drive retention of your users, and it's going to add to the tools that, that your app or your product is going to give to end users. And of course, that's going to add demand to our token. But the most exciting long-term project is to decentralize ownership of information. Do you remember you mentioned data?
Yeah.
So we're coming back to it. We've never did monetize our data. We are sitting on terabytes and terabytes of amazing, detailed physical activity.
That anyone would buy from you, Nike, Adidas, they would love
Everyone
that data,
wants
right?
to,
Yeah.
but we've never ever did anything because we believe that this data belongs to our users. But being centralized business, there is no mechanism as of yet that we can actually give this data to our users. As we decentralize and we turn into DAO, we will be able to get this data back to users and allow you to basically put your data on the market and allow Nikes, insurers, NHS, etc. to look at aggregate information on the levels of physical activity, changes in those levels of physical activity, This data does not exist right now. To illustrate how interesting and valuable it is, when first lockdown happened in Spain, we saw within 48 hours that 85% of all physical activity in Spain disappeared. If you know, kind of details how body functions, you can actually turn this into kilos of fat that people will gain over a period of time. You can turn it into increase in healthcare costs that are going to come later on the back of this change, which is, kind of very few people kind of have this data. We're definitely one of the businesses at the highest scale that can actually provide a platform for users to sell their data direct with us not having to touch it, because we don't want to be the party that participates in this transaction.
Question of the week. So what do you think about data monetization, and what tool would you like to see in the future? Let us know in the comments below and be eligible for a reward. Woo! That's beautiful. It's the first time that I hear about a dual reward system like that. Not coming just from walking, but actually using the data that's created while walking to create another source of income, right? That's really, really intelligent. So going back to, you talked about that vision, you saw your children, you don't want them to be chubby, like the Pixar movie.
Yeah.
What would make you, Oleg, happy? In the next year, 2 years, are you doing this for your children? What is not the end goal, but I would say the happiest moment that you would like to see yourself in a year or 3 or 5 years time?
Wow, that's a deep question.
It's
a deep question. I think, when we started in 2015, we started to make the world more physically active. Launch of Sweat is going to turbocharge this vision and sort of 10x it, maybe 100x it. What I would like to see is high levels of physical activity and us as humanity changing our attitude towards physical activity. We know that it is valuable intuitively. When I say movement has value, everyone nods. We know that your doctor values it. We know that your family values it because you're in better mood, you're fitter, you're gonna live longer. Your employer loves it because you're actually happier and more productive.
Yeah.
Your insurer loves it because basically you're lower risk.
Yeah.
And your country loves it because you're gonna be economically active and you're gonna generate a heck of a lot more taxes in the long run. So, kind of movement has immense amount of value. And by creating Sweat, the token, we are basically putting an asset out there that is going to be the measure how much value humanity attributes to physical activity. What would make me really happy is a headline saying, human physical activity pumps 20x last week, and everyone going, whoa, physical activity has value? Oh my God, this changes people's perception. That's gonna make people more physically active. They're gonna start thinking more about their bodies, their health, their mental health as well. And I think we're going to generate an immense amount of value for the whole world.
That's incredible. So it's more than just health, it's global change, right? The entire nations and the way countries are driven. That's amazing. That's a beautiful vision and mission, and I'm sure you will achieve it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
Pleasure being here.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and blast that bell notification to get access to more of these timeless interviews and hear from these amazing people like today, Oleg, CEO of Sweatcoin, a project you need to follow. You'll have the link below to download the wallet, and we'll see you next week, premiering on a PC near you, 8 o'clock GMT. See you next week, guys.